Welcome everybody to Zeta Global Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in here today. Special day. Well, actually, every show we do here is special. I feel this one is super special. Why? Not because of who's on the show, but because we're talking about saving our mother, saving the planet, and making a big difference in a project that both Howard and I have been working on for now almost 2 years. A planetary mindfulness project. You've seen a lot about music to heal the earth, and we're not the only ones involved in this. There are several people, both well-known and on their way to being well-known, all over the world getting involved with this, making a difference and realizing that without us all waking up to the fact that we're just visitors here and wanting to show our reciprocation in the beautiful divineness of us being here, that now's the time to really make that claim. And why not through the consciousness of music, the one, I believe, identifier that connects all of us here. So with that said, I'm really thrilled to connect here with David Abbruzzese. And of course, you know him as the former drummer of Pearl Jam, but he's been in several other bands, and I can't wait to actually talk about Course of Empire, because that brings in Howard into the mix of this. So why don't we just say, welcome to the show, Dave Abbruzzese.
Well, it's a pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
Thank you. Well, I have to say that when Howard first told me that you were getting involved, you and Jeff Fielder and Sean Smith, I wasn't really sure who Jeff Fielder and Sean Smith was. I should have, but boy, when I heard those songs that you all put together, I haven't stopped. They make me weep to no end, particularly like a child of the water I am. I can't wait when Howard previews that, and boy, the world's in for a beautiful ensemble of songs. So thank you for organizing all of this.
It was just a matter of, that kind of, I think, why the beauty of those songs exist is just really a matter of me and my friends doing what we do together. And those songs came out of our appreciation for the ability to do just that. We weren't trying to make a record. We were just trying to, I guess, just move each other,
Yeah.
And these beautiful songs came out, and one of them in particular is just me playing everything, and that came about in a really organic, weird. I was on this month and a half long retreat in the middle of nowhere, and every morning at 4:30, there were 4 mosques surrounding me, and they would battle it out.
Yeah.
And in that moment came this music, and this music just kind of showed up while I was half asleep, and I just got up and started recording and building the song. And
wow, which song is that?
I don't even know what I called it. It's the really long one with the all the strange ambience. And
We're gonna just call that Mother Earth. Thank you, God. I spent a lot of time in Turkey years back, and I was thinking about what you just said about hearing all the mosques at different times of the day, and it was like, you can hear, when someone's musical, you hear songs in everything. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, from the filter on our pool, like, there's always something. I feel like, I always call Howard, like, you must have been August Rush, and, like, that whole, did you ever see that movie, August Rush?
Huh?
It's great. Like, you hear sounds and everything.
The mosque thing that was such a trip to me, too, was, there were certain mornings where I was laying there and thinking, that's not typical what's going on. And then I started listening in more and more, and I discovered that this one area, I guess it's how they punished their naughty kids, was to make them get up at 4:30 in the morning and sing the prayer, because I started hearing in the same tonal capacities as the prayer, but I was hearing Britney Spears lyrics.
Seriously? Wow.
And one morning, this guy got up and he was singing it just with all the passion and fury he could. It was an old Johnny Cash song.
Interesting. Well, I think it's interesting for someone like you, because when I think about people's perceptions, they think once a rocker, always a rocker, and that's true. And you're more the one to answer that. But what I also find interesting, and I've interviewed a lot of people who, where they were in their 30s or even their 20s to where they are in their 40s, and I just turned 50 on Monday, so I know, I know, wow, where I was and where I am and what matters now. It's such an evolution, and I now see that the musicians who are coming on, not just you, but many from all over the world on the album, where they're at in their lives, there's such a conscious change. And I just wonder if you want to, speak to that.
That's especially interesting to me because I went through. It was strange, after the program stuff. I went into this phase where, and I didn't even realize it, and the universe was just pelting me with rocks on top of the head, trying to get me to realize it. But it was that I was kind of walking backwards, trying to protect all the things that I had achieved. And, when I look ahead to what was coming next, I was looking over my shoulder at it. And, it was really interesting. And as years passed and more things, built up for me to stumble over while I was walking backwards through life, finally I turned around and it was amazing. It just, I reached a point where, when I turned around and let the past be behind me, it was it was just an incredible overnight sensation of so much more room in myself to check in with how I was feeling about stuff and to go back and redefine what things meant to me. I defined the meaning of words like beautiful and love and all these really important things, but I never took the time in life to revisit what these words actually meant and what, and that was just astonishing, and here I am. I just turned 50 as well. So,
well, I kind of saw that. You and Howard share the same birthday, by the way.
It's a pretty cool day. But it's just amazing to me how, as time passes and I get older, life and the way I perceive things and what really matters and all, it's really changed. And as my experiences kind of turn into, dare I say, wisdom, and I get to apply that into the next phase, it's really, I don't know, I guess I'm really a supporter of growing old. I'm like, I tell my young friends, just look forward to it. It's really great,
Well, there's something to be said, of course, they say, like on an esoteric level, about how we keep spiraling up, and I use the term like raising our vibration or raising our frequencies. It's like we get to look at the same shit, but now we get to look at it from an enlightened point of view, where now we could look at the blessings or understanding of why that happened, because wow, with all that great knowledge, wisdom, debauchery, whatever, we're here now,
That's right. Oh, no, that's right. Thanks for remembering. I used to have a copy of that book, and I never understood it until probably 20 years after I stopped looking at all the neat carvings in it. But that's the way you just said that. It's true. It's like the spiraling up, and for me too, the importance really started to change, and it was like it wasn't so much that I wasn't in tune with the energies around me. It was just that I was so motivated by the social parts of it.
Yeah.
That it really blocked everything. And once I reached an age where, what really mattered was being able to sit and be comfortable sitting, and being able to do something and be comfortable being in the moment rather than carrying all this social baggage. It seemed like that really kind of cleared the way for me to feel again. Like, because when I was younger, everything, music, all my passions were motivated totally, completely by the moment and the surroundings.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, and I started to believe that I had to care more about what people thought than what I felt.
Yeah.
And that was a really big deal. And I've had friends that are no longer with us because they never seemed to get past that concern about what people perceived or what people thought or what people were going to think rather than what they were feeling, and they lost touch with that. And And some of them, just whether it was their health or their mind, but they just spiraled out of control and we lost them.
Well, I think about how people of fame, I mean, you're famous, and how the spiritual work that people do, the evolving, the growing into not caring so much, and then also at the same, not caring so much, and at the same time caring so much more, but what you care about now matters much more. It's a lot more work, possibly for people who are famous, because you are bombarded, you're all over the news, you're all over stories, and things are real or not real, or judgments. Like, there's a lot. So, like, I really want to acknowledge you for the pieces of, like, coming out the other side is what I'm going to say about that.
Thank you. Actually, that means a lot to me. That's something that, luckily, luckily I had a baby girl come along.
Oh, nice.
The experience of, she was delivered. We did it in the house, and it was just us. And I mean, that was the moment where I redefined so much of my life, was in that one spot where, I kind of looked at, there was all these questions of, why did this happen, or why didn't I do that, or all those questions that really you can't answer, but they take up so much space inside of you and inside of your process. And with her being born and just that whole experience of everything, of just becoming a dad, it really, all of a sudden I looked at her one day and it was like, wow, this is why.
Yeah.
And the answer to all of those questions, and then they stopped, and that's when I realized that. So I had come finally. There was another side. And it was when all that space opened up in my head, where the questions that really didn't matter anymore went away. That was the biggest shift for me, in the sense of. And where I was living, my front yard was 20 miles, and then Sedona, Arizona. It was like, it was just the most amazing place to live.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And so it was a good space and a good time. It was just, like I said, everything kind of came together in this one little spot where, I understood so much of so much with very little effort, and it was really nice.
Yeah, it's almost like you deserve that. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, chat a little bit more. Everyone, you're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We'll be back in a moment. Spiritual Communities Network invites you to their 7th year anniversary celebration of the mystical and magical date of 11/11 with their upcoming event, Spirit Con, taking place this year on Pine Island at the beautiful setting of Green Planet Farm and Gardens. It's a day to connect, expand, and experience. Free to attend, enjoy a full day of local and renowned speakers sharing their wisdom of spirituality, mystical arts, and health and wellness. Enjoy readings and a variety of booths with many different products for enlightenment and well-being. Sponsored by Muscle Tuners International, Conscious Shift Magazine, the Holistic Chamber of Commerce of Southwest Florida, and our station here, Zeta Global Radio. For more information, please visit spiritualcommunitiesnetwork.com. We look forward to seeing you there.
Isla Mujeres is a Caribbean jewel off the coast of Cancun. Castilito del Caribe warmly invites you to enjoy our spectacular oceanfront villa located in the heart of El Centro and a short walk to Playa Norte, which is ranked one of the top 10 beaches in the world. With an ocean view of crystal clear turquoise waters overlooking both the Caribbean and Cancun city skyline, we offer a fabulous location for you to enjoy all the peace and tranquility you're looking for on vacation, while also taking in all the excitement the island has to offer, with activities either in walking distance or a golf cart day excursion away. Please visit CastilitoCaribe.com, www.CastilitoCaribe.com, and be sure to mention ZGR to receive a complimentary round-trip airport transfer for up to 4 people. We look forward to seeing you soon.
So yeah, we're here with David Abbruzzese. and not only from formerly of Pearl Jam, but you were also in Course of Empire. That was back in the day, right?
Yeah, that sure was. Those guys, it was so funny because they were such, and still as individuals, they're incredible guys. But back then, I was brought on to kind of take up some slack from a member that had left, and it was like I was the only one in the band that wasn't. They were such a conscious band, The they just, they were all vegetarian and vegan and this and that, and I would come to rehearsal. I would get so much grief for smelling like a Whopper.
Well, I look forward to going and hearing the music. When Howard told me that back in the day, he didn't tell me what year it was, that you all shared the stage. He was in Terminal Sect, and then there was Prong, and then you guys headlined with Course of Empire. I can't wait to hear the music further. But so I get the conversations I'm having with you, I have with Howard all the time, just about how everyone's evolved. And we were just talking off air even about how we're rolling with new technology here. We're connecting from thousands and thousands of miles away from each other over social media, and we're making shit happen, which is amazing, because this is all important stuff, not only about us talking about why we've come together to make this Music Till the Earth album, which is really important.
I'm so excited about that collection of music. I'm really excited and really, again, just proud to be a part of it. And this, the technology has allowed, the song, I don't know if you're aware of this, but, Sean has come out and we've worked quite a bit, but that song that y'all are releasing, we did that over the internet together.
Are you kidding? Oh my God.
Nice. Yeah, and the song that Jeff and I did, that's from back in my studio in Seattle. But Sean and I, we'd spent time in the same rooms, but we'd never really connected. And one day I reached out to him through social media. I just saw that he posted something I thought was really sweet, and commented, and he commented back, and then we started talking, and then next thing you know, we were sending music files back and forth, and
amazing.
It was just, it was really, really fun to do.
The She Is Heartbeat, She Is Rain also speaks to me. I mean, wow. And then Make It Right with Jeff Fielder, all of them, all the songs. I mean, the world is in for a real treat, and it's not it's the music, it's the energy, it's the vibration, but it's also the lyrics. It's such consciousness and caring, and that's the purpose. And the album has so many varied, from ambient and ballads to full on rock, and we got some punk, and we got Klaus Fluoride from Dead Kennedys and Chris Ewan from Magnetic Fields. I mean, there's a whole ensemble of people who care, and it's just great to see that evolution. And I think what you wrote in your quote that we've been posting about how we're seeing a lot of stuff happen in the world, and fortunately people like you are putting it all together and saying, hey, I'm gonna make a difference here, and we're doing the same thing. And
well, that's it's awesome. I started working on, I wanted to make a definitive solo record, and I was determined. And it started just a couple of years ago, and I was writing and putting all these pieces of music together. But I've always had this kind of undercurrent thing that whether I was producing a record for someone or even mixing or just drumming or whatever, I've always asked myself, what is the point? What is the point of doing this? And sometimes the answer would be, well, the only point would be the paycheck, so I wouldn't do it. I would really that always seemed to govern musically. Even within, working on the structural elements of arrangements with Pearl Jam or whatever, it was always like, what is the point of doing this? If the point was to show off some flamboyant drum fill, then I'll pass, because that's not what I'm about. And
that's how you felt. That's how you felt back then, or
everything, yeah. And with that, as I've evolved as a person, when I started making this album, it meant one thing. It was like the point was to, I wanted to impress somebody or this, and I wasn't really finding the reasons to be inspired. And then I started looking around and taking in, the new world around me as well as still processing the old. And I realized that, the point was to put it out there, to not necessarily just, to try to make a difference, but to actually make a difference and with myself, with the music. And, and I learned really quickly through working with Sean that really was the key for me, not trying to take on the world, but just trying to take on the world inside myself.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
and make a difference in that, and come to find out that all the decisions and all the processes that have come from that perspective are more universal than anything I could have tried to do. And that's been really satisfying, and I've started noticing it with the musicians that I'm attracted to, and the people that I've worked with, is that when we get together and we're doing something for what we're doing out of the place that matters within us, then it seems to have more of a universal impact. It seems to say more in a way that more people seem to understand what we're trying to say.
It's like the unspoken sometimes says it all. It's almost like the breath between the space of the music.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can play my music for 10 people, and 8 of them have a different idea of what it means, then I feel like I've done a good job, because what I want it to mean really matters so little to me as much as what someone else gets from it. Because I feel like at this point I could make music all day long that makes me giggle, chuckle, dance, whatever, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything in the big picture. So it's been interesting just answering that what's the point question. Well, the point is that it needs to be done, or the point is that I feel like I need to do this. Those are good answers now.
Yeah. When you're called from that deep space within inside yourself, it's right action. And I think that's just such a basic spiritual principle of feeling into what feels right for you from an energetic, because it's not about what you think other people think, or what they should do, or how would that look, or how would that appear. Like, you kind of been there, done that. Now I think we're at a point in our lives, I think where we're being very conscious, like what we're doing appeals to us because it makes a difference to others. It goes hand in hand like that.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at. I hope people get to experience that, especially creative people, because to me it's it's close to what I've always heard was a runner's high.
Yeah.
It's like now I'm getting this high from being present and being aware and allowing myself to be sad, or even I'm hanging out in a third world, and there's a lot of misery in the third world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I've also thought so much about the fact that within that misery, like I watch these children play, and especially playing music, and they're so joyous and free and happy, and there's children, and even if they don't have shoes or whatever their situation is, they still find their human experience is still rich and loving and caring and important, and it's just been such a treat to see the world in a different space,
Yeah. So when people say, or when you identify yourself, maybe that's not the right question. When people say, "Oh, Dave Abbruzzese, formerly from Pearl Jam," it's really like we don't necessarily need that title, because like where you were, that's a part of like the whole evolution, and obviously an impactful one, because many people, including myself, were impacted by the music. And but it's really your Dave Abbruzzese is Dave Abbruzzese, because who you are now and evolved. That's okay. I've got dogs sitting right here. I'm waiting for mine to bark, but she's not. So yours is first. Yeah. Doesn't.
Yeah, saying again. Sorry.
I don't even remember. It was something about it's these titles people put on themselves, like Dave Abbruzzese of Pearl Jam. It's not it's like that's for me that's one part of your, it's one part of your world, and who you are now is really Dave Abbruzzese, the artist, the conscious humanitarian being.
And to me, it's like in this day, it's like it seems like it's getting, especially with the political state of things, there's a social ramification to all this ugliness, which is you can't just do something special. It has to also be either you either have to be pushing the wrong people's buttons or pushing the right people's buttons. And the only way that there's going to be money behind you is the people that put up the money are going to be the ones that want to stand back and watch some people throw rocks at you and other people try to catch them. That's the definition of fame these days. It's like you're in the center, you're doing something, and there's people over here that want to kill you for it, and there's people over here that are willing to take the bullet, and there's people behind you that are just raking in the cash. And it's like they're the ones selling the rocks and the catcher's mitts,
Yeah,
it's
so true.
Bizarre thing, and it's scary because it seems to be happening the world over. Luckily, I'm not exposed to just straight across the board, American media, and I've been seeing and reading a lot of other cultures' takes on what's happening in America and in Europe. And, it's kind of sketchy to see, it's going to be, I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out. My concern is it's going to get a lot more difficult and a lot more challenging before it gets better, because it seems to be the way it always has to be. It has to get difficult before people finally realize that it didn't have to be so difficult.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, while that's happening, a lot of people are waking up. So thank God for that. We're seeing more consciousness, at least more prevalent and more outspoken about people's authenticity than ever. So that in itself is a plus. Yeah.
It's just a shame that it seems like it hasn't happened yet, that enlightened people are able to get in a position of some sort of power and actually bring it to the table without it being a detriment to their being elected or whatever,
I hope so. I've had some pretty famous people on my show, and they've said, thank you so much for having the show. Why? Because mainstream media still won't cover them. I'm not going to say who they were, but some different people have said, even me, who I am, still don't get the coverage. Not me, the person who's on the show said, I still don't get the mainstream coverage. And what their work's been amazing. It's like, why are they not being heard by the mainstream audiences? So
it's inevitable. It's either, even in the span of Democrat, Republican, or right, left, or dark and light, and all this stuff. It seems inevitable that it will get to that point, that it will break through to that element of just basically a right and a wrong for humanity, a right and a wrong for the consciousness of humanity to pay attention to the planet. I mean, for some reason, all throughout this conversation, I've been seeing this island of plastic garbage. There's two of them in the ocean. Between where you are right now and between where I am, there are two floating masses of plastic the size of the state of, I guess, Maine?
Whoa. Oh, God.
It's the most... It boggles my mind. And then I just saw a video of some divers off the coast here where they're diving through this beautiful space, and what looks like from a distance all these amazing sea creatures, and then they get closer and closer, and it's all garbage.
Oh, shit. Wow.
It's all pieces of tea bottles and straws and all this mass of just, it rained upstream, and now the ocean is got to feed on all this garbage, and the amount. But also at the same time, I've got to applaud and point out that every week there's a new group of people that are trying to organize to get out and make a difference, and things are working that way, So,
well,
I still feel good. I don't feel like there's any reason to give up hope. I still feel really good about the ability to make a difference and slow things
Yeah.
out where my daughter can have a life and appreciate the beauty and celebrate it, rather than just hearing all this negative back and forth babbly talk on the news and stuff. I don't know if does the news even cover environmental issues anymore?
Well, I tell you, the interesting thing is that the inspiration for our project came from a documentary called "We Know Not What We Do," and it was slated to be on the Discovery Channel. And the day the administration took all the climate change info off the main website, they sent a letter to the producer, Elizabeth Galen Baker, or she's a director, and Aaron Taylor, and said, sorry, we can't have your film on our show. It's too political. It's like, what are you talking about? This is not political. This is a climate change film of what's happening in our country. And you're telling me what? So that's kind of, we were inspired from that original documentary to, all come together and, here we are now talking to you. So that's the evolution of like something dark has now turned into something light. And we're going to bring light to it even more with the beautiful, collection we're doing here.
Well, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep what you just said and let that be my inspiration too, whenever I start to get down, because that's an important thing. That's important. Darkness can be the springboard to light. That's for sure.
Beautiful.
That's for sure.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for everything to be part of this. Yeah.
I appreciate so much what y'all are doing, and the strength and courage it takes to do it. And
yeah, thank you. All right, everyone. This was a wonderful, wonderful time here with Dave. We're going to take a break, and we'll have more on Music to Heal the Earth. Thanks for being here. Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Trice offers detoxifying body wraps and facials using natural organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Visit their Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare Facebook page or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Mention ZGR and receive a complimentary ionic foot detox experience.
In the depth of a spiritual ceremony, the heartbeat of the drum and shaking of the rattle bring you closer to a heightened state of awareness within. Experience the richness of nature's spirit drums. They are expertly and lovingly handcrafted with an infusion of sacred animal spirit and healing energies. Hand-stitched rawhide rattles used in sound healing, energy clearings, and journey work are filled with the powerful vibration of crystals such as amethyst, citrine, jade, and garnet. Purchase yours today by visiting naturespiritdrums.com. Zeta Global Radio listeners enjoy a special 10% discount when entering ZETA at checkout. For our international listeners, please visit the website on how you may purchase Nature Spirit drums and rattles.
Birds Row and Unity Church of Bonita Springs are proud to be back this November 3rd for their Psychic Fair featuring many of Southwest Florida's best healers, psychic merchants, and artists. The full day 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. event will offer a variety of spiritual awareness, health and wellness specialists, readers, products and services to lift and expand you into greater possibilities for living. Arrive early and reserve your reading with your favorite spiritual advisor. The cost is only $5 to attend, and all proceeds will benefit Unity's Children Outreach Programs. For more information, please find us on Facebook at Spirits Row. We look forward to seeing you there.
The Holistic Chamber of Commerce in Southwest Florida now has chapters in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and Naples. If you have a holistic business or practice and want to network with like-minded beings in the medical and healing arts, natural and eco-living and spiritual communities, you're welcome to come to a meeting and see what we're all about. For more information, please visit www.holisticchamberofcommerce.com and select your nearest city. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Welcome back to ZGR. Wow, thank you, Dave. That was beautiful, beautiful sharing. And we're now going to move over from music to movies and TV with our next wonderful, wonderful being who's here, Serinda Swan. Many of you maybe know from many things she's done. She was in lots of movies. She was in Tron and Percy Jackson. She was in HBO's Ballers, and oh my God, I knew her when I saw you, Serinda, in Graceland and Breakout Kings, and a lot of great stuff she has going on. But besides all that beautiful work and talent in Hollywood, she comes from a wonderful place of being in here, supporting what we're doing with Music to Heal the Earth, and supporting the mother, supporting planetary mindfulness. So that's what this show's all about today, is going beyond who we are and really extending this oneness and this collective regardless of our titles, and just coming into the fact that we're all human beings being here to support one another however we can. And we have the gift of the beautiful beings that are here today in sharing their celebrity to make that powerful piece move forward. So welcome to the show, Serinda. I'm so glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is lovely.
Yeah, this is great. And I'm so, it's just so serendipitous of how this project, you coming on board, Dave, and many of the other musicians and spiritual leaders have come on board. So this isn't your first rodeo, and I thought maybe we could do is share a little bit about your passions, share about sort of why you're resonating to be part of this incredible collective we are now calling Music to the Earth, and maybe just give people a little bit of a background of the world of Serinda beyond the silver screen. How's that?
Sure. Any specific areas? I mean, that's one of the beautiful things I think about the collective of people that you brought together is there's, a multitude of areas in which we live in, whether that's, emotional, mental, spiritual, whether that's, the part of me that travels, the part of me that's a philanthropist, the part that's an activist, the part that's just a kid that really loves to play make-believe, and therefore I made it my job. So
yeah, I could target specifically, your philanthropy, your activism. I think that's beautiful. And by the way, I did see your TEDx talk, which I absolutely resonated with and shared that around with a women's networking group, Fem City, I'm involved with. It really, really impactful. So maybe
Thank you. I was scared on that one.
Were you?
Yeah, it was interesting. It's one of the first times I've not eaten breakfast because I was I just can't. And I don't know why it was that way. Obviously doing a TED Talk's, a big deal, and it's something that you take seriously, but it was beyond serious for me. It was just this really interesting moment where I got to share sort of a story that was something that I hadn't talked about before, and not out of fear, or I just didn't realize the importance of it. And it wasn't until I shaved my head for my last project that some of the things started to come up for me that I realized that I was oh, this was actually a bigger deal than I thought it was when I was 11 or 12. And it's really interesting how life kind of pushes you back into things that aren't necessarily solid. I didn't realize that I was on shaky ground as a little 11-year-old being I got judged for cutting my hair. And then, 20 years later to be oh, I might be judged again, and it's going to be a much bigger stage, obviously, because I'm, when Marvel tells you to shave your head, you shave your head. But I think with my work, I always try to bring some piece of philanthropy or activism or storytelling. With Marvel, it was just being open about the experience of losing a piece of me that was extremely feminine, or that the society thought was extremely feminine, which was my hair. And to me, it wasn't a big deal. People asked, did you cry? What happened? I was the producers actually left the room because they couldn't handle it. They were so scared. And I sat there laughing. I posted a picture on Instagram, a video of it actually happening. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like, I don't
It was
understand,
great.
you're laughing. I was like, it's hair. That being said, there is traumatic times to lose your hair, and so it's not something that's trivial. But for me, I don't take a lot of my self-worth from my hair. So it wasn't something like my identity wasn't in my hair. So it was okay for me to lose it. But I always try to figure out a way that I can bring in my success to be the success of another. And so with this one, we did a large push for wigs for kids, because wigs are astronomically expensive, and it broke my heart to think that there was a kid out there that was struggling with alopecia or cancer or something that made them lose their hair, and they weren't able to step out into society and feel like they fit in and feel like they were pretty or whatever it was. And that was something that was really difficult, because for me it was like this fun thing to do, and I was like, I'm very aware that this might not be a fun experience for other people, and so how do I help that? Because I have, with Marvel behind me, they bought me beautiful wigs and made sure that, if I had an issue, I could still go back to looking like myself, and that's not the case for the majority of people that are going through hair loss. And so in one sense, it really opened my eyes to society's idea of beauty, and then also trying to be sensitive and trying to see what I could do with that experience to really help others. And so it's those sort of things that I try to find a duality between my fun sort of frivolous life, which is acting, and then this more philanthropic life where we really get to change this world if we pay attention to the small things.
Right.
And those can be as simple as conversations. Those can be, I always say every donation is not necessarily monetary. It can be a conversation. It can be a tweet, a retweet, a post. It can be standing up for someone. It's energetic. And so that's something that I try to tie into all of my work, is make sure that there's an energetic donation to the community.
There you
in
go.
some capacity.
Well, if people follow your Instagram, which I do, it's clear that you have a passion for traveling and you have a passion for the planet. And so being involved with something that we call planetary mindfulness is so in alignment is seeing how beautiful Mother Earth is, and also how people are still so unconscious about what they're doing. And so making this big stand, what we're doing through music, one song at a time, is so essential. But I thought maybe you could talk about that, because you're everywhere, you're embracing it. And by the way, I have a huge background also with Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. Like every time I see her, I'm like, oh, I could talk to her all about Guatemala. But it's showing how much we need to take care of the planet, like pronto.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I went to Guatemala, was to learn about the culture, but also to learn about what's going on with the lands and figure out, I think it was only 5 years ago that it was so polluted that the locals weren't allowed to go near it. And now it's been cleaned up. And that's the thing, is that, I was there as a tourist and I was able to jump in and enjoy it. And then I left. Those are little tiny moments that we have. But these people live around this body of water permanently. And so you start to hear the stories of them. It's not just an Instagram photo with, the saturation heightened so that it's some like bright blue, beautiful thing. It's like, no, we have to start dealing with what is reality and what is the reality of the earth, because there's this really interesting juxtaposition going on right now when you look at things through Instagram, and everything is heightened. Everybody's taking it at the perfect angle with the perfect filter to make it look as perfect as possible. And that's sort of the reality we're living in right now, is like everything is beautiful, everything is amazing, and we're not taking a second to look at what we're actually doing to the earth. Like you see a million people taking, in Los Angeles, there's a company that's really famous called Alfred's Coffee. And they have this thing that says, but first coffee. And you see everybody taking pictures. They want this Instagram moment. They want this post that says, but first coffee, with the coffee cup in their hand or sipping the coffee or whatever it is. And there are hundreds of thousands of these photographs. And in every single one of these photographs is a plastic cup with a plastic lid and a plastic straw. But they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about what is the moment for them. What does that mean? And that's something that I'm hoping that we can start to become aware of, and it looks like we are, because we're having a lot of these, the banning of plastic straws around the world, which is That's one of the most exciting things.
When do you feel, I don't know, this is just coming in to ask you, as you got older and you know, got famous and, you know, your career started to take off, when did you start to see that you can use your celebrity for good? Was there an event? Was there a cause? Was there something that, because you let your name, because you felt impassioned, because you got involved, humanity was better served? I mean, do you remember a specific time, or it's just evolved? I'm just curious, because it's a passion of mine to work with celebrities, and I've done it for decades, where they use their celebrity power for good, and that is the most important piece that I can, you know, to share how important it is to do so if you have that capability.
Yeah, I think we all have that capability in some sense. There's always someone that looks up to us. There's always someone that's going to listen. And so I think it's interesting because it definitely gets put on public figures to use their power because it is heightened based on the amount of eyes that are on them. But I definitely think it's something that I talk to kids all the time, because I have an educational tech company that we're launching, and we're going into a lot of classrooms, and they're like, you know, like, well, it's you know, it's the celebrity's job to do it. And I'm like, yes, it 100% is. But why don't you feel like you have the power to be able to make change yourself too? And that's something that we need to start opening up a conversation of. And that's something that, as a person with some influence, you know, can have these conversations that are like, how do we make it that everybody feels that they can do something where they are? And it wasn't a special moment for me when I realized I could make change. I grew up in a really beautiful family of hippies and artists, and sort of I went to Waldorf school and you know, drew with crayons that were made out of beeswax, and we didn't have anything, like, you couldn't bring anything plastic or anything that had sugar into the school.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. But my parents, for my birthday, every once in a while would get me presents from Heifer International, which is an amazing organization that I still work with today. And what they do is you can buy a little basket of chickens for a family in Nepal. And they are able to, the chickens go to the family and they raise them, and they get the eggs, and they can sell the eggs. You can send them like all different types of animals, and you can also send them vegetables. You can send them everything. And it's this beautiful exchange. And, you know, they have the ability to, I actually went to Cambodia to go see some of the work that Heifer does, and they had this giving ceremony where one of the families who was gifted a pig, the pig's usually pregnant, and so they gift the pig, and when the pig has a baby, they gift the baby pig to somebody else in the village as well. And so it's this beautiful cycle of giving.
Wow.
And that's something it's something that I understood at a very young age, because it was something that my parents brought into my sphere. It was something that my parents educated me on, was this, you know, the gift of giving, not only for myself, but for another too. And so it kind of grew throughout my life. And I think when I knew that acting was going to actually be my career, it was going to be something that I was going to do for a very long time, I had this moment where I was like, what am I going to do? Like, what is my, I hate being like, what's my legacy? Because you don't have to have a legacy, but like, what am I going to offer the world? Like, what am I going to be able to give this world or make this world better because of my existence on it?
How can you impact the future generations? That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, as an actor, in being in one of the most narcissistic industries around, it can be a very difficult question to answer. To give you an answer that you can sleep at night, because I've had a lot of sleepless nights where I was like, I'm just going to play make-believe. Like, what am I going to do? Like, half of the movies, if I really dive into them, I'm like, is this, you know, misogynistic? Is this glorifying violence? Is this, like, there's a million things that I could do. And I was like, what am I doing? How do I become okay with being entertainment? Because entertainment doesn't always have a deeper value.
We listen to ZGR. We'll be back in a moment.
Spiritual Communities Network, where we honor the uniqueness in our oneness. Visit our website to meet our vast spiritual community of healers, therapists, conscious events, and activities. Visit and check out our directory, upcoming retreats, workshops, products, free videos, and much more. Many services are available globally by phone, Skype, and other sources of media. You'll also find more information on how you can be a member to promote the work you're doing in the world. Visit us now at spiritualcommunitiesnetwork.com.
Blessings, everyone. Lainey Savante here, inviting you to the mystical, magical world Tarot Play Shop, happening October 27th through 28th on the beautiful setting of Green Planet Farm and Gardens on Pine Island here in Southwest Florida. I want you to experience, and I'm looking forward to it myself, a total immersion of learning, being, and embodying our divine archetype as shown in Tarot's major arcana. Discover the depth of who you truly are and step into its power. I myself can't wait for this. The event is being facilitated by Teresina and Martin Balkans, the incredible creators of the 5th Tarot deck, which I use myself when giving readings through intuitive wisdom. They are masterful, wise, and will help you bring forward the new you. Consider it a high vibrational take on Halloween, complete with costumes, props, and the feeling of really being a kid again. We could all use that, right? Well, there are limited spots available for this, so register now at thefifthtarot.com, and I'll see you soon. Hi, Lainey Savante here, and I'd love for you to visit my new Facebook page for my private tarot and oracle session readings called Intuitive Wisdom. That's IN2UITIVE Wisdom. Conscious strategies for manifesting a more harmonious life. Don't we all want to have that? Let's see what's in the cards for you as we look at what needs to be cleared, expanded upon, and evolved. There's a lot to explore when we take a deeper look inside ourselves.
Hi, I'm Serinda Swan, and you are listening to Zeta Global Radio. We're back.
We are back. Go for it.
Okay, so and that's one of the funny things with radio is you never can tell when things are going to start and finish unless you're in the room with the people, as opposed to when you're acting, you know, like everything is already predestined for you. You know when the scene starts and when it ends. You know the exact timing. So it's interesting for me to switch mediums and navigate.
Oh, you're doing great. So you were starting. Do you remember where we left off? You were talking about how you were going hiking. Yeah.
It was something where I was a child, what I grew up in, and I remember like hiking up into the mountains, and I would literally drink out of a stream. And that's something that I cherish and I find value in. And I was like, okay, how do I make sure that what I'm doing and what I'm contributing to as an adult doesn't stop something that I consider of value? And if something is threatening that, like a pipeline, then I'm going to use my voice and I'm going to use my platform and I'm going to make sure that, you know, I'm speaking out about something that is threatening what I believe is a human right. And so for me, to bring it all back, it wasn't necessarily a moment that I went like, aha, I have power and I'm going to use it. It was this gradual discovery of myself and who I wanted to be. And in that, I wanted to make sure that there was someone inside of me that always kept their eye on how I can contribute and how I can help and how my success is going to be the success of another. Not negate another's, not walk on another's, not care about another's, just really find a way that my success truly can be the success of another. So much so that for Graceland, which you mentioned, one of the organizations that I work with closely is an anti-sex trafficking organization. And I was in Cambodia, and I remember sitting down with a victim of sex trafficking. She was 6 years old, and I told her that my voice would become her voice, and that whatever I could do or whoever I could talk to would be to tell her story and to share what's happening and to bring awareness to now the facts are actually, there's new facts out there right now, statistics. But as of last year, it was 1.2 million women and children that get sold into sex trafficking every year. And it's one of those things that you look at and it blows your mind. Like when I started to dig into human trafficking as a whole, it's the second largest criminal enterprise in the world, and it was something that I hadn't heard of. Like, there's a war on the female body, and, you know, we're focusing on a war on drugs. And so that was something that I really leaned into and was like, okay, we need to change this. And so how do I bring the two together? And so I sat down with the creators of Graceland and was like, I want my character to be sold into a sex trafficking ring. I want to bring, you know, that world into my other world, so that my voice as Serinda can be my voice as my character. And they hummed and hawed, and I linked them up with my connections at the UN and different organizations, and they all backed them and said, look, if you do this, we'll give you all the information. And they did it. They did it instead of doing just like 1 or 2 episodes. They did the entire season with their main plot. My character gets sold into a sex trafficking ring. The UN flew in their production crew, and we did a PSA with the UN that aired during our show on primetime.
Mm-hmm. I remember this.
And it was this moment where I was like, oh, wow, okay, so there's levels to what we can do, too. And this was one of the moments that I was really proud because I was scared to tell a room full of men, you know, this is something I care about, and this is something that I'd like to talk about. And this is my boss. You know, these are the creatives. These are, you know, I wasn't in the pilot of that show. I was in addition to. So
bravo. Wow, girl, bravo. I mean, that's huge. I don't even know, this is a sidebar. When we Howard was scoring a film and I was actually producing it, and it was all about sex trafficking, and that's where we came into Worlds with David Batstone. So we have so many synchronicities, Serinda, and we'll have to talk about those offline, of things that we've done and traveled, but it's all in the name of supporting humanity and really bringing forward things that people need to see. This isn't a sidebar thing that only so many, this is like for you to have that grit and to really bring that forward. I mean, that is huge. I haven't heard of many people who are actually saying this needs to be implemented in the storyline. I mean, that's wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, that's what we want, though. And it doesn't have to be in a documentary style. Like, I always call it the Blood Diamond effect. Nobody went to go watch Blood Diamond to go learn about conflict diamonds. Nobody did that. But everybody left questioning what they have in their jewelry box at home. And people still to this day are aware of the fact of what a blood diamond is. And so that's where you have a movement mixed with entertainment. And I think that's sort of the future. And it's the same thing with music. We all love music, but what is your music doing to fix the planet? What is the music doing to fix your world? And so I think we're starting to get into this energy where our creativity is connected with a cause, and our purchases should be connected to a purpose. And a dollar is a vote. And I think we're starting to come out of this sort of helpless world where we're like, I can't do anything, to being like, no. We're starting to give everyone opportunities to engage in the world that they want to be a part of, from the movies you watch to the music you listen to the clothing you buy, you know, to the food that you spend your money on. Like, is it industrial farming, or is it from a farm? You know, like, what are we doing? What are these choices that we're making, and are they conscious? And so anything that can bring education and awareness to what's actually happening in our planet and give people the knowledge to make a decision that can directly impact not only their future but the future of our generations to come is something I always want to be involved in. And then I'm learning how to, you know, fight the system that wants to put me on a pedestal and insist that it's a platform, because in our industry we get put up on pedestals and there's not a lot of room to move. You know, you're just sort of this thing that is gazed at and molded. You become a statue versus, you know, have the ability to be able to, being able to like walk around on your
change.
Platform. Well, a platform you can fit many people on. Like, I want to be able to have a platform where I'm like, today it's going to be this, and tomorrow it's going to be that, and today I'm going to bring up all these people onto the platform, and I'm going to go hide in the back corner and give them the stage and give them whatever spotlight I have as an actress or an activist. That we're going to use that or deflect that light to an area that, you know, needs to be seen. And so it's a learning course that I'm figuring out as I go, and I get to work with incredible actors that are really incredible at doing it, where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to take notes. Like when I worked with Dwayne on Ballers. I was like, he does some incredible work out there, and he really has the capacity to pull in philanthropy to his fandom. And so it's like taking notes from the people that I'm around and sponging in information and what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and like what the tangible change I see. So yeah, I like to figure out projects that not only offer something on the artistic side, but also something on the philanthropic side.
Well, you're in the right place here, and we thank you so much for being part of this. And we just seeing the amount of people who are interested in not only submitting their music, but really standing up behind the music, writing lyrics that are waking people up. I always think, I'm thinking about Dave and Sean Smith and Jeff Fielder and all these beautiful rock stars who are now writing conscious music. I mean, they weren't, of course they impacted everybody, but their music now, and when you hear some of the songs that they've submitted for Music to the Earth, it's like, yep, everyone's really getting it, and now we need more people to get it. So thank you for being one of the ones who get it. And together, I mean, for us, we feel like this could be the next We Are the World. Like, we really want this to be this energy that everyone hears this album and understands that they can make a difference just by raising their frequency, opening up their eyes, and doing something about it. So thank you for being here and everything you're doing.
It's one of those projects that, again, it's like the Blood Diamond. You go in. Some people are going to listen to this just because they want to listen to music, but the repetition and the infiltration will happen, and I think it's something that happens subconsciously to consciously, and that's why we need more of these beautiful projects that span the commercialism and the artist. And so I'm really excited for this to come out and really excited to see what happens.
Terrific. Well, congratulations. I know you're starring in a new upcoming series. When does that when's that going to be together? Do I talk about it for just like 5 seconds?
Sure. I leave in 3 weeks, and it's the first time I've ever been a lead of a show. So it's pretty exciting. It's sending me back home to Canada. I'll be shooting in Toronto until the end of the year, and it'll be premiering sometime next year. So yeah, I'm gearing up and figuring out how to infiltrate this project as well. But yeah, it's really exciting and scary, and I think that's one of the beautiful things is things that have never really been done before. We get to figure out exactly what we want it to be for ourselves and for another too, and that's why it's so cool to see what you guys are doing. Is it's not just another album. And for me, I'm like, this is not just going to be another show. So we'll keep in touch and see what comes out of all this.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, we'll let you go do what you do, and we'll be back in a moment. Thanks, Serinda.
Thank you so much.
I just want to thank everybody who had this opportunity to listen today to really take in not only what you heard these wonderful beings here shared, but also the fact, good point, Serinda, that she made, that we all have the opportunity to stand up, to do something. We don't need to be famous. We just need to be conscious. We just need to be awake in our truth and know what's right from wrong, and realize, again, I've said this before, we're visitors here on this beautiful planet. And I want to go back to thanking Elizabeth Galen Baker, writer and director of We Know Not What We Do, Aaron Taylor, producer of We Know Not What We Do, not only for making that beautiful film, but for coming forward and being the first people to say, we need to go further, and that's how we started this. So here we are, Music to the Earth, coming at you soon. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being on our journey. Music to Heal the Earth is a project that everyone needs to know about. Visit m2heal.com. Learn how you can donate. Learn how you can be part of this. Buy the record. Share it with everyone, and soon you'll be at our concerts. Everyone have a beautiful, blessed week. More on us soon, and thank you again for being here.